Hello, welcome to Puppet Productions and my blogatary, or in this case my vlogatary. This is the 10th take because I can't seem to read through this, and I realize part of it is because it's written so very badly. Anyway, my idea for this evening was to read a little bit of an excerpt from a story I had published in Aoife's Kiss a year ago, March 2009. Since I will also be having another short story published in the March 2010 issue coming up. So this was in the March 2009. It's called The Lullaby. It's dedicated to a couple of friends I used to know down here, Nadja and Tasha, who helped me fight my way through becoming a Los Angelino when I first moved here. I think of them as women warriors. Anyway, here we go. Surly. That's what I was feeling as I marched along Martinson's market streets. The nicer people were to me, the more my skin crawled with unspent anger and hostility. The war wasn't that far behind me, only a couple of months, but my battle weariness had returned to combat pitch, hairs on the back of my neck standing straight up. It was the bitter end of autumn, the chill, even at mid-afternoon, seeping through gaps in my clothes, down my back. I seeking a place to winter before the soles of my boots gave out and the holes in my socks became undarnable. I hoped the Mercenary Guild would need an instructor for the winter months. Ducking past vendors, keeping my head down to discourage approach, I made my way toward the guild quarter of the city and the Mercenary Guild Inn. I kicked a wayward leather ball back to the group of children playing in the cobblestone street, almost expecting my sister to run after it as it skidded across the commons. A memory from long ago, back before my world went up in flames and I discovered how quickly a sword could both give and take life. A boy ran over and, picking up the ball, went back to his friends. But I could see they weren't into their game. They looked as if playing was the last thing they wanted to do, as if they were being forced. I was having a difficult time myself, making my way to the guild, assaulted by the unnatural niceness as I passed through town, feeding an irrational animosity I felt towards these effusively cheerful townsfolk. Freshly roasted mutton for sale. A vendor thrust a forkful of meat at me. Try a slice? No, I growled. Glaring at her suspiciously, I clasped my coat about me and hurried on, feverishly fighting for self-control. I narrowly avoided someone else trying to offer me a turkey leg, while another shopkeeper offered me a taste of fresh-baked bread. Offering free samples was one thing, but offered so freely made me feel suspicious. My fist clenched reflexively, automatically reaching for my sword whenever people wished me a good day. Something wasn't right. The first tenet a mercenary learns is self-control, to attain calm in the center of battle and retain distance between oneself and the local populace, which is why the animosity that played on my nerves was so disturbing. With relief, I spied the Mercenary Guild Inn sign. 3 forearms crossed, each one holding a sword, an axe, or a bow in its raised fist. Entering, I was assaulted by an entirely different atmosphere as the roomful of mercenaries turned about to aim their rising hostility at me. It was palpable and unusual. Mercenary Guild Inns were places of truce where soldiers could feel at home with each other, nurse wounds, rest between jobs, and pick up new ones. An important pact, since the fellow comrade at one side in battle could be an enemy in the next. The truce was strained, but I was better able to deal with pent-up animosity than I was with the overbearing cheerfulness outside. Making my way over to the bar, I felt my coat snag on a chair. "Here now, watch it, bitch." Ignoring the remark, I unhooked myself and continued to the bar, until I felt a decided yank. I said, watch it. I turned to face a soldier. I'd seen better days. He was of a height with me, and I am used to looking down on most. Though ruggedly attractive, he had not bathed recently. Smelling every ditch he had lain in, every parcel of food and swig of ale that he had lived on before coming to this inn, I realized I probably wasn't a pretty picture myself. Suddenly I felt every line and wrinkle on my face, aware of every gray hair that graced my head. I had not worried about such things in a long while. Taking a deep breath, through my mouth. I contemplated the code every cadet learns. We do not waste our fighting skills on unpaid challenges that do more harm than good, unless by absolute necessity or idealistic choice. Reason, communication, and humor are the first three tools of any decent soldier. As every good general knows, the battle should be won before the first blow falls. I beg pardon, sir. I will be more careful of my coat in the future. I looked him square in the face. His startling green eyes warred with my own dark brown ones. Yet, what I saw wasn't anger or determination, or even drunken obtuseness, but stark fear. The man was more shocked than I when he threw his first punch. Blocking it, muscles tensed, holding my arm down was as difficult as holding his back. I strained against an unseen force that was pushing my arm to swing, urging me into a fight that I didn't want. The sweat dripping down the soldier's face mirrored mine. Something was trying to get us to come to blows. Comrade, I have no quarrel with you. Will you not back down? I have no quarrel with you. Why don't you back down? His arm pushed through, and I moved to block again, once more straining to hold him back and keep myself from engaging in a needless brawl. I wanted to roll my eyes at what I assumed was his male pride when I noticed his guild tattoo and decided to try something. Comrade, in this place is a permanent pax. To fight here would be to break guild law. Will you not break bread with me and join me in a drink instead? He drew a deep breath, attempting self-control, half smile lighting his face. A tankard of ale would not go amiss. His grudging assent set off a collective sigh around the room as we backed off from each other. Shoving in front of others who quickly moved aside at my approach, I grabbed a couple of tankards from the barkeep and nodded the soldier over to a seat. Name's Bjorn, he toasted me. Taja. We silently nursed our drinks. I waited for the battle urge to subside before I spoke. I noticed that the townspeople here are a bit on the cheerful side. Bjorn grimaced before taking a pull on his beer. He seemed to be thinking over what he was going to say, yet a tightening of his jaw muscles left me wondering if he was fighting the same urge as I was. Bit too much for my liking, if you ask me. Thought it was just me being used to being on my own, sword for hire and all that. Then I get here, and instead of being in an inn full of comrades, sharing a pint, it felt like a den of lone wolves taking each other's measure. Like the first days at the Mercenary Academy. Very like. I don't know what happened. I've been very tense, but when your coat snagged my chair, it was as if you were being forced to play a part. Aye. This is on the house for your restraint. The bartender set down a pitcher of ale with a tray full of roasted winter vegetables swimming in beef stew. Pleasantly surprised, Bjorn and I dug into the meal as if it were our last. The stocky barkeep watched, replenishing our mugs occasionally, obviously amused at the speed with which we put away his food. I noticed the tattoo on his own muscular arm. Did you retire from the wars? Served the gods and goddesses of war for over 20 years until one close call too many. I decided to take my savings and try for a quieter life. Not that it's been very quiet lately. Bjorn motioned to the stool across from us. Sit with Taja and I. Georg, Bjorn pronounced carefully. Pour yourself a drink. Tell us what you know about all this. Bjorn waved around the room, drawing looks of menace from seasoned soldiers, me included. Gladly, Georg called to the barmaid for another tankard with a full pitcher. Mariska, she's one of the townsfolk, Georg muttered after the redhead left. Smile on her face no matter what I say. The grouchier I get, the nicer she gets. Before all this started, we were talking of marriage. She was just right for me. Sassy, smart. She'd have made a right fighter if inclined that way. Then 6 months gone, I started picking fights for no reason. Couldn't stop myself. Customers were getting more difficult too. I expected her to storm right out of here and not take it, but instead she just got nicer. Instead of liking it more, it just irritated me no end. Now I just do my best to ignore her. But it's getting harder. Hell, it's getting harder not to smash up my own customers. Georg sighed into his ale. Towards the end of the evening, after the sun went down, I could feel the tension around the room ebb away. Yet some of it remained, still preying on the edges. Mariska had cleaned around us, waiting to take our mugs and do the rest of the washing. I felt Bjorn's attention turn towards me. I couldn't help wondering what it would be like to be with him, conflict and body odor notwithstanding. Grumbling, Georg got up to help Mariska while Bjorn and I went to our separate rooms, alone. And at least in my case, still wanting. And that's the first part of the lullaby. That was in the March 2009 version of Aoife's Kiss. If you're interested in hearing the rest of the story, then drop by Sam's.publishing and look up this issue and order a copy. They'd love to have more people read them. Again, that's Sam's.publishing.com, and this is Aoife's Kiss. Thanks, and have a great evening. Bye.